Hey y'all, today we're going to talk about Chapter 9, Section 5. We're going to be focusing on trig ratios. So trig ratio is the ratio of lengths of two sides of a right triangle. The three basic trig ratios are sine, cosine, and tangent. We say sin, cos, tan. Those are the abbreviations. Another thing I would like to point out is the angle of elevation. The angle of elevation is the angle that your line of sight makes with a line drawn horizontally. So it's like looking out and looking up. What angle am I looking at? So let's talk about our trig functions. So first we have sine. Our sine is our opposite of A. So here's A, our opposite, so little a, and our hypotenuse of C. Our cosine of A is going to be the adjacent of A, so B, and then the hypotenuse of C. Tangent of A will be the opposite over the adjacent. One way I learned to remember it, and other people learn to remember it, is SOHCAHTOA. So is SOH, so sine equals hypotenuse over, sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine equals adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent equals tangent, opposite, adjacent, so TOA, SOHCAHTOA. So let's put these calculations to test. So I want to figure out the trig ratios for the large triangle and the small triangle. So I want sine, so that's so opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine, which is ka, which is adjacent over hypotenuse. And TOA, which is opposite over adjacent. I'm going to do the large triangle and then I'll do the small triangle. So opposite for the large of A is going to be 5 over the hypotenuse of 13. Are you going to get 0.3846? Adjacent is going to be 12 over 13. You're going to get 0.9231. And then opposite, so it would be 5 over adjacent, which is 12. You can get 0.4167. Now let's do the small one. So I'm working about A. I want opposite, so 2.5 over hypotenuse, which is 6.5. Calculate that out, you're going to get 0.3846. Now adjacent is 6 over 6.5. We get 0.9231. Then opposite, 2.5 over adjacent of 6, 0.4167. So there's how you just calculate it. Now, I want to figure out a word problem, and I'm going to focus on the angle of elevation. So it says it is known that a hill frequently used for sled riding has an angle of elevation of 30 degrees at its bottom. If the length of a sledder's ride is 52.6 feet, estimate the height of the hill. So I'm going to go, okay, what do I know? I know my hypotenuse, and I want to know my opposite. So I have opposite and hypotenuse. So that's going to be so sine. So I would set up the formula sine of 30 degrees equals opposite of h over 52.6. How do I get the 52.6 or the h by itself? I'm going to multiply by 52.6. So h equals 52.6 times the sine of 30. Now, you can look up sine of 30 or any other trig ratios on page 845. There's a chart that you can use for these. Or you can type it in your calculator, which I'm going to do. So I have sine of 30, it's 0.5. Times 52.6 going to equal 26.3 feet. h. So there's your answer. All right, let's move on to the next problem. All right, I want to find the sine, cosine, and tangent of the indicated angle. So first, I want to focus on E. So sine, cosine, and tangent. The sine of E, here we have simple, toa. So opposite, 48 over 50. Now you could reduce this or just calculate it out. You're gonna get 9, 6. Cosine of E, adjacent, is 14 over 50. It's going to be 0.28. We have tangent over E. So the opposite. So 48 over adjacent of 14. Calculation is going to be 3.4286. Right now I want to focus on D. So again, we have so sine of B equals opposite. So 14 over 50. Calculated that earlier, so it's 0.28. We have cosine of D, which equals adjacent, so 48 over 50. Calculated that earlier too, so 0.96. We have tangent of D, which is going to be opposite, so 14 over 48, 0.2917. All right, now let's figure out the sine, cosine, tangent of angle A for each problem. So angle A, which is 45, so I have it 18s. I have an isosceles trapezoid, not trapezoid, triangle. So again, SOHCAHTOA. So, uh, well, I'll just get used to writing these down. Just helps. Opposite of A is going to be 18. Hypotenuse is going to be 18 square root 2. We know this equals 18 and 18s cancel. This becomes 1 over square root 2 equals 2 over 2. And you calculate that, you're going to 0.7071. We're going to get 4 decimal places right now. Cosine is the exact same thing. It's because it's adjacent to 18, so 18 over square root 2. Just going to jump to that square root 2 over 2 equals 0.7071. Now my tangent is going to be opposite 18 over adjacent 18, so it equals 1. Now look at my next one. I have A. Okay, so come on. Opposite 5 over hypotenuse 10 equals a half or equals 0.5. So 5 square root of 3, which is my adjacent, over hypotenuse of 10 equals over 2 square root 3. It's going to Put that in calculator, I get 0.8660. So I'm going to leave it there. So, so 5/5 square root of 3. So this equals 1/√3. Square root 3/3. 0.5774. Right, there's our calculations. Now let's do one more problem. I'm going to figure out x. So I have an opposite over an adjacent. This looks like a right angle, so we assume it's a right angle. We have opposite over adjacent. So the total tangent of 48 equals opposite x over adjacent of 100. X equals 100 of 48 degrees equals 100 and 1.1106. Again, you can calculate this, or you can look at the back of the book. It's 111 feet. All right, that is it for today. Hope you all enjoy. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Have a good day, y'all. Goodbye.